Hi, my name's Laura Davies, and I'm joined today by Lily Samuels and Andrea Wilson. And we're here today to talk about perimenopause in the workplace. What I want to say to start with is why are women that are in their peak leaving jobs and their husbands, but they're just being prescribed antidepressants as if they're sweets from the doctors? Things need to change, and we need to talk more openly about it. And I'm going to talk with these ladies about their experiences, and about how they've navigated, well, how Andrea's navigated perimenopause. And Lily, I've met because she's helped me on my navigation through perimenopause. Andrea is the managing director of Honal Precision. And thank you for being here today. And Lily is a specialist in nutrition and menopause for Lily Samuels. Now, not every woman will experience perimenopause in the same way. Some people move through it really easily, others really, really struggle. 1 in 10 women is leaving the workplace due to perimenopause symptoms. That's nearly 1 million women stepping away from their careers. And 67% of women are saying that it negatively is impacting their work. From Andrea, we want to talk to you about how it's affecting you and your business and how you're seeing this in real life. And Lily, I'm hoping you can share some stories about how you've supported women and what you're seeing. I wanted to start today by talking about my experiences because throw everything on the floor. There's a reason that I've put this together and want to have this conversation. So for me, it started when I was about 42. I'd not long had a health scare, so it was just another little gift that Mother Nature wanted to throw my way. I went to the doctors, they listened, and I had every symptom you could think of. I had ringing in my ears, I had bloating, night sweats. It wasn't a pleasant experience waking up in the middle of the night. I was looking in the mirror, and I'm sure you'll agree, Andrea, I didn't recognise myself. And that's a bit odd when you're at that time of your life. It should be our peak. I'm a mother of 2 children. Perimenopause and teenagers don't go very well together at all. So dealing with that was awful, and my anxiety was through the roof. And I'm not an anxious person at all. It's not in my nature. So I didn't recognise it. You question. I don't know about you, but you question what's going on, don't you? I mean, we talked this morning. We both saw a post on LinkedIn, didn't we? And it was about a man that had written a blog about his wife's perimenopause journey. And I printed it out actually. I've got a few points here. And he talks about, this is Michelle Flynn, who used to work in the recruitment industry, and she's gone on to be a coach, talk similar, not the nutrition side, but obviously helping women through these changes. And he talked about my wife is traversing midlife. Some of my colleagues are, and many of my friends are. Most of my male friends are in relationships with women who are perimenopausal or menopausal. I just want that to land with people because most people are. And with the age that we are, your friends, your partners, there's so many people that are going through this. He talked about her filter being different. I'm sure my husband would agree with that as well. That she says things she wouldn't normally say. And actually, how he reacted to that is a big part of it. But he understands that she's not any worse of a woman. She's actually becoming the next chapter of herself, which is what I'm sure Lily will talk about. She's taking that mask off. She's allowing that authenticity to come through, and they're on this journey together. And I think that's really important. And I'm very lucky that my husband has been on this journey with me. Obviously, I'll talk to Andrea, a little bit later as well with regards to that. But I think it's so important for men watching this and listening to this that they're supporting their wives. So, Lily, you've been a bit of a guardian angel to me, and I would openly say that. You were introduced to me by my dear friend Kirsty Davies, and genuinely, if you hadn't come into my life when you did, I don't know where I'd be. So I want to openly thank you, which I know you know that anyway. Um, but I was guessing my way through it, as you No. And, again, we've talked earlier, it's not just menopause, it's other things that are going on when we're very busy business women and we have underlying things as well. We blame menopause. But I just want to talk to you with regards to how you see it within women and how they're dealing with it.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me here
It's a pleasure.
and for your kind words. So, as a guiding angel, it just happened that we were in the right place at the right time. And
I think Kirsty said you had to fix me, didn't she? Sort this one out. I think those were the words.
yeah, but it was a mutual respect because, like I said to you before, that you are forced to be reckoned with. Whenever I say this is what we need to go and tell the doctors, you just get on with it. You're so proactive, and then you really wanted to be well and understand what was going on in your body. So that was really was a pleasure to work with you.
Oh, thank you.
Um, but in terms of perimenopause, what was the question again?
How do you support women? And
How,
sort of what do you see as being sort of what people are navigating?
how do I support women? I'm just going to give you a little background of who, who I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm Lily Samuels, and my background is I was a nurse and a midwife, and work in intensive care as well. So I've been a nurse for almost 15, 16 years of my life, and then retrained as a nutritionist to actually support my own healing, my own journey, health journey. But it was when I was at uni that when we were looking at research, women's health was not at all looked at the depth of males' health. So I wondered why are we not doing that? But fast forward, I started my own business, and the sole purpose was to support women. But I didn't know which way to go. And then it's only when women started saying, "Can you support me with perimenopause?" And I just thought, wow, they need so much support. So I work with women on one-to-ones, like we work together. But it's a holistic view of what you're going through, and not just because you've got hot flashes and then we just focus on that. Because perimenopause, or what we call clinically is called menopause transition,
Hmm.
and then you go all the way to menopause. It's a whole body experience. So every body system is affected. So when I work with women, then I look at from head to toe how is it affecting the brain, the heart, all other system that are estrogen is affecting it. And so that's kind of support that we do. I look at the nutrition, and we look at supplements and other aspects that the woman needs. And I've noticed that many women, they haven't got the knowledge or the understanding what's really happening to their bodies. At the moment, menopause is such a buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. But
Was Nabila McCall, wasn't it?
the menopause,
I wish she said it. It wasn't anything.
and so now which is a good thing because we'll say talk about it openly. But yeah, just so much gaps in that, because menopause is, you have to understand the body and how it works. You can't just sort of look at one aspect of it and look.
Well, it's like what you did with me. You found
Yeah.
all sorts of deficiencies as
We look at
that.
your blood
Yeah.
tests, we look at other stuff, that everything is connected. When that estrogen is going up and down, it affects so much more than just the the brain fog, or more than that.
Mm.
Just one of the symptoms that, or what organ that people are not even aware is the heart, because you don't really have symptoms. You can't really feel the hot flashes, but estrogen support the lining of the arteries
Mm.
and the lining of the heart. So when that estrogen is up and down or is no longer there, you can imagine what's happening
Mm.
there. So I work with women in that way. We look at basically live any stone unturned.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was going to be my next question about what's actually happening during perimenopause, but I think you covered
Yeah.
anything you'd add
I
to
could
that.
add a bit to say that when we talk about perimenopause, we tend to focus on hormones, and yes, the hormones are part of it, but it's a bigger picture, because not only we, for example, the brain and the ovaries, they're them sort of, they communicate constantly. As in now, there's this invisible connection between the brain. The ovaries release estrogen, the brain gets the brain actually function as well on estrogen.
Okay.
So perimenopause is more than just hormonal. It's a neuroendocrine and even neurological problem condition, not problem condition. So we look at all of that, and the women would feel sometimes they don't even know what's going on. It's just like everything's off. My body's, I don't know, I'm not myself anymore. But there's all these changes. But it can happen for up to 10 years without even knowing. Some women, even in their as early as 35, may start experiencing perimenopause without knowing,
Yeah.
and then they get to a point where they, some people will be heavy periods. They're like, oh, my period is changing or the cycle is changing. But it can go that long, to some women up to 14 years, just going through that really
We do get the
unpredictable.
gifts, don't we, Andrea? We.
It's so unstable and they fluctuate, and
Yeah.
this rhythm that is unpredictable. That is just when women said to me that I felt like I was hit by a train. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
All of this. When we go normal periods, when we are through reproductive uh, times, we've got 4 phases where everything is balanced. There's this sort of a dance, a rhythm. But perimenopause, there's no rhythm or dance. Everything is just chaotic. So it's important that we look at women
And I'd
supplement.
bring Andrea in from here as well, because we were
Yeah.
bonding over HRT, weren't we? It's talking about different methods, and it's not a one size fits all, is it?
No, and thanks for cheering me up with the 14 years, you know. Yeah, feels so much better today.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think, I mean, for me personally, I'm not 100% sure when mine started. Well, for me, I was running a business, selling a business, caring for my terminally ill dad full time, running a house, and generally, you know, just existing and trying to get through each day. And I actually thought that was just because of the life I was living, that I felt as bad as I did, and that my mood was as low as it was, or my body was as painful and, awkward, because it does feel sometimes that hearts are disconnected,
Yeah.
and you're trying to think, well, I didn't do anything to hurt in that particular place, my knee or my hip, you know. And as we were discussing earlier, I have rheumatoid arthritis, so, and an underactive thyroid. So I have the zit too. But for years, I actually thought I was just exhausted, and, the pressures were just a little bit much at the time. And it's only when I came out of that, and as you said, Laura, we should be entering into the best parts of our life and the peak. And for me, my life became much more simple. Unfortunately, I lost my dad, work settled down, and I've got a fantastic husband who's just wonderful. And yet, for some reason, I couldn't feel better. And I think that's what made me then sort of say, right, okay, now I have to start identifying. I went to the GP and they were absolutely zero help. They did try me on a particular HRT blend for about 6 or 8 months and swapped and changed it. And I just came off it because I thought I don't feel any better. So what's the point? There's no point adding more drugs into my system if you don't feel better. But it went on for another year. And I think for me, the changes in how your body functions. So I've always had an excellent memory.
That's also the brain fog.
Yeah, names I was always brilliant at, since doing a Dale Carnegie course so many years ago. Taught you how to learn people's names and make people feel important by remembering who they were. And all of a sudden, it was gone.
Well, I used to learn a script. So
Yeah.
I'm a trained actress, and I'm doing a concert next weekend, and I've got an iPad in front of me because I literally cannot learn the words.
Yeah.
They will not stay in my head. And it's,
Yeah, and I'll be asked questions about this industry, and I love manufacturing. I'm fighting for manufacturing in all my free time. But you can ask me a question and I can't get that word, and I won't find manufacturing in my brain. And I know what I want to say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's exceedingly frustrating. I chose to find a specialist menopause doctor, who I went to see. She did all the blood tests that my GP didn't do, and the GP refused to do.
Yeah.
And found that a number of my levels were completely out, and no wonder I felt as bad as I did. And yeah, the new sort of regime that I had for the first couple of months was fantastic. I felt like superhuman. So positive, so back to, I felt sort of 15 years younger. I did. I felt late 30s, early 40s. I felt so much better. Um, but again, unfortunately, as I saw her last week, that still dips and changes because your body is
Just keep
having
changing.
a different reaction on
Yeah.
that particular month to another month.
Yeah.
If a period comes along, or if you've been poorly and had a virus, or your stress levels have increased, so even when you've got the specialist help, there's still no guarantee that you're going to feel better consistently.
No.
And I think that's one of the biggest things we have problems with, particularly in the workplace, is thankfully a lot of companies are doing menopause awareness training now. But I do think menopause is seen as simply a hormone mood problem.
Yeah.
That, it's basically that, yes, I can't watch an advert without crying. And if somebody, I'm trying to tell somebody something that really means a lot to me, or I'm really angry, and I well up. But it's all the other physical factors
Yeah.
that come along with it that, it can be just so exhausting. And without the education and the understanding of the people around in that team, then it does make it a really difficult place
It's
to.
debilitating.
Yeah.
It can absolutely, and I've seen it from myself and one of my team members as well. It's to be in that situation and be working, like you say, lose that word, or or something hurts, or it happens. There's nothing that physically is nothing that we can do about it.
And it affects your confidence as
It
well.
does. You question your life choices. And
Question your sanity.
you do question your sanity. And I think, obviously I said at the beginning about women leaving jobs and leaving relationships. There's no wonder, because we look in the mirror and we don't see ourselves anymore. We don't see what everybody, like, I mean, a lot of people look at me, you're high flying, you do this, you do that. And I look at them and I go, what? I'm surviving. Because that genuinely day to day is how I feel. And people don't get it. I am somebody that can put a bit of a mask on, and I'm able to be that person that people need me to.
Professional. Yeah.
People need me to be at that moment. But actually, when you strip that back, there's a real person there that that is struggling. So obviously, you've helped me. You've helped hundreds of women, haven't you?
Yeah.
What tips and what advice would you give to women who are dealing with these sort of symptoms, these thoughts, and then actually for their wives and partners?
I think the first thing is to recognize that something has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll say to women, document, write down your symptoms.
Yes.
Write them down constantly and just keep watching, because you're given 10 minutes at the doctor's, for example. In that 10 minutes, the doctor won't get to the bottom of it. But when you have maybe a month or 2 months of symptoms that you've been, your sleep, you're monitoring your sleep, you're eating, you're emotional. Today, I hadn't been cleaning myself. You have sort of data that actually can help you get support faster than when you go and just say, I don't know what's going on in my body. And so I would say start there. And then you go to like Andrea, then most of the doctors really are not, they're not expert in menopause. Then if you can afford to go for a specialist, then go for somebody who understands menopause and perimenopause. And don't stop there. Most of the people, they go and get HRT, for example. The doctors will give them HRT, but it plays a part. Nutrition is still part of who you are.
My body wasn't absorbing estrogen. Your body will. I was putting on 4 pumps, because that's what we're talking about. I was on 4 pumps of gel, which was a dose of 100 of the estrogen.
Yeah.
And my estrogen levels were 194 or something ridiculous. But yeah, I was using it every single day. Now I've got a patch and they're not raised ridiculously, but they have raised.
Yes.
And now it's progestin or testosterone, or, they're looking at the different things. And I'm sure Angela will agree, you feel like a chemistry experiment, don't you? You really do. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, one day that works. Next day, I think the first 6 months I was on HRT, it was wonderful. I thought, oh my gosh, it's gone. And then awful again. So I think it is like we said, not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And get that advice.
And
Yeah.
don't give up.
No.
Stop, keep questioning question whether you have provider or whatever. I think realize that when you feel like you're crazy, you're not really going crazy. Your body's going through.
I'm sure our husbands would think that.
Yeah. But, find the help is out there. Just keep interrogating that. And if your doctor can't do it, find somebody else who can actually support.
So what help do you, so you offer, obviously the sorts of programs that you worked with me, but you also do team support, don't you? So you go
I
in.
do. Yeah, to workplace, and then I deliver workshops.
Yeah.
Where we actually need men in the room. Yes, they are our allies.
It's important. Yeah.
And understand, educate them what's really going on in the woman's body.
Yeah.
From head to toe, what's happening in the brain. And so that they can be even more compassionate when you're in the middle of a presentation and you can't even remember what you were going to say. So they can give you that space. And if you need to go and have a fresh air and come back, they need to understand that this is what's going on. And you get this, women are leaving workplace because they don't get that support, but they also don't know what's happening in their bodies. But the bigger organization, they don't even know why these women are not behaving this way. But so I go and educate them. I do through workshops, and I also do webinar, and I also work with companies doing it for 3 to 6 months, helping them with policies on how to actually implement nutrition as part of strategy in the workplace. Because we know we have HR managers and we've got all these policies, but nobody really think about the food, the role it plays.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that we can change every day, change our body.
What we put in ourselves.
Because we eat every single day.
Yeah.
That would be the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understanding what kind of food to eat.
Yeah.
Help. I can't be living on fish fingers and chicken nuggets while we ate in our 20s.
I was going to say, what we had as a teenager in our 20s, we can't have enough. What did people just this and on?
Leave on and that, we need to start supporting in a different way.
And I think it's really important that those conversations are happening. And, the fact that you go into workplaces and you have those conversations, I think that's a real positive. And from your point of view, Andrea, so obviously you're MD of a company, but you're also, very much sort of visible within manufacturing advice boards, sit on, lots of boards. I don't know how you have any time off, to be honest, with all the hats that you wear. So obviously, you work with men and women. So how do you see this, and how do you see this even being received within the workplace?
Again, I think it's very much dependent on the company. I do think bigger companies are trying to bring in much more menopause awareness training. I had a customer come visit last week. And, I sort of joked about the fact that I couldn't remember this particular name of somebody I'd dealt with in the business years ago. And I joked about it being menopause, and he went, "Yep, we know all about that." I said, "We've done the course."
That's good.
But I think, unfortunately, no amount of awareness training will change cultural problems or a lack of understanding or a lack of wanting to understand. And I think that's one of the biggest things. It's I think certainly in manufacturing, at times I've been told that the way I run my business is too female. Because it's supportive, and we are very open, very honest, but we have a brilliant staff retention. We've got a loyal team that, most of us have been there for 20, 25, 30 years. But I think what we have to do is start understanding that it's not just about menopause, but how we change as we get older regardless.
Yeah.
And understanding and accepting that, because I think combine the two, that you're hitting middle age, your brain is changing and your priorities are changing as you're getting into what you see as the latter parts.
But I think we live very different lives to our grandmothers and great grandmothers, because of, obviously women's rights and how things have changed, and the positions that women are, women weren't in the positions that we're in, obviously thanks to, everything that obviously happened before us. So I think, that's something that's forgotten, because people think, oh, has this only just appeared? Well, it hasn't just appeared. It's been here forever.
Yeah.
But actually, women's brains, women's bodies are doing very different things. Would you agree? Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because women back then didn't work the stressful jobs that we do in running companies, having children, doing all of these things. But menopause was still there. It's path every woman will go through.
Ravina McCall didn't just make it up, did she?
Oh, everybody will go through, whether it's surgical menopause, whether it's medical menopause, or it's just the natural progression of menopause. So every woman is gonna go through it.
Yeah.
So, and to just add to that about organizational culture, most organizations they look at menopause as part of the wellness sort of tick box. So we'll do a course and then that's about it. But a woman is going through that every single day. They don't make it as part of the culture that
Well, it's what allowances and, like you say, culture, policies, and everything like that.
yeah. We don't just wait for October when it's World Menopause Day and then we get Lily in and then we'll talk about it and then you tick the bottle, we're gonna do it next year. But it's what our job is really to get these people to understand that they support the women every single day if we can. There's the policies that support everything we do. And I know I'm maybe asking too much, but if we can have people that are understanding that menopause and performance and profits, they're all intertwined.
It's all related, 100%.
Yeah, because if that woman leaves, the money she was bringing in the company lives with her. So if we can really understand from that sort of where a commercial heart and realize that we need to get this menopause sorted, it has to be a priority in order for the people.
It's a nurturing, isn't it? We talk about hybrid work. The workplace has changed, hasn't it? Let's face it, since COVID. So I think I think this is just something else that can be interwoven into that, really, to have that awareness and support of women. And Andrea, if businesses aren't seeing this and doing something about it, what do you think will happen?
I think, like you say, you lose good people, but that applies to any form of supporting and acknowledging your workforce and the individuals that they are, male or female.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, if you're not embracing the people you have and the different challenges that each one brings, and able to actually encourage people to be honest about how they're feeling or how they're doing or, what they need, then, you will just lose people. And of course, you don't just lose the people, you lose their skills, their expertise, all that retained knowledge that's not necessarily written down. It's stuff that they just know.
Yeah.
And
Experience.
yeah. And then of course there's the added additional cost of then trying to replace them, trying to retrain.
Exactly.
It's just, it makes perfect business sense to support your people.
Get it right at the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, if we're saying 1 in 10 women's leaving, I mean, that's scary statistic, very scary statistic, especially something like manufacturing and engineering, where we're trying to get more women into the industry.
Yeah.
Well, then why alienate,
Those
that percentage of women, that you're bringing in?
Yeah.
And these are capable women. These are women that we've worked with, we've trained, we've developed, and actually, that, like we said, they are at their peak. So why?
you need to see companies saying we support perimenopause on their slogan. They're really welcome to say we support them.
Well, they stick it on a wall, their values,
That when you come in, you're like, okay, I'm gonna
and you never hear about it again. Yeah, no, it is quite scary, isn't it? What people preach and what people say they're going to do versus what they actually do. I think one thing that is encouraging, and I did a post, I think it was last week, that the government are now talking about how, I think at the moment they're suggesting that companies, so from a mandatory point of view, are sort of feeding it into
it's gonna be legislation.
legislation, and then next year, it's going to be compulsory.
But it's only for companies that have
2.D. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
So how do we get SMEs to get on board, Andrea? Come on, you're the SME queen of manufacturing and engineering.
But then, but like when you said about I'm navigating menopause, no, I think I'm just doing the doggy paddle a bit. Again, I think you find less of a problem, to be honest, in some SMEs
Yeah.
because they're a much smaller type
You're not
of
just a
team.
number.
Yeah, you're not just a number. You're having those conversations daily. I mean, I I do feel sorry for a couple of their sales team because there was 3 ladies. Lisa sits there, Karen sits there, my office is here, and all 3 of us are going through it at the same time. but we were able to compare tablets and
Talk
dosages
about
and,
it.
how did you get that particular tablet and what did you ask for with that?
Well, Ellie used to come in and actually look at me and say, "What do I need?" And I'm like, "It's in the bathroom, Estrogel." So it's, sometimes you do, and actually, I mean, she's quite a bit younger than me. She started going at 38, through at 38. She's 40 this year, but we've kind of gone through it at a similar time, and then Joe's come into our business, all women, two married perimenopausal women, and the rest are a little bit crazy. So, and they're all in their 30s and all, sort of at their peak. So I would say that they're at their peak now.
Yeah.
Because I know what's to come.
Yeah, I have to say, what my friends and I sometimes meet on a Friday for a walk, and we'll sort of see these lovely young ladies getting out of their cars, and they're all like, "Oh, it's just so tough," and and you sort of sit there and go, "Just wait." And soon. There's so much more to come. Enjoy this whilst you can, you know. But like I said, I do think in SMEs it's less of a problem generally when
Yeah.
you've got those smaller teams. Unless you are talking a very heavily male-dominated environment with a particular owner manager who really doesn't sort of care about
In our
stuff in
industry,
general.
there's still a lot, especially black country, and
So there are more than you'd like to think. But I also think, times are changing.
yeah,
I think because particularly the skill shortage and the talent shortage and the skills pipeline being as broken as it is,
absolutely.
people and particularly small businesses are very much trying to cling on to the people they have.
Yeah.
And they will now do a lot more than I think they would have done
Yeah,
to be able to retain that talent.
yeah,
But I think, raising awareness, basically explaining how this can also be a benefit to the business,
yeah,
and how helping. So it's a bit like some of the guys that work with me. Some of them in other businesses wouldn't have survived because they'd gone through certain trials, tribulations, problems, issues.
yeah,
And I'm saying guys as ladies and gents. Um, But because we've helped and seen them through those difficult times, they stay.
yeah.
And the same thing goes with menopause or any other health
Yeah,
issue or
exactly.
family
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah,
I mean, I 2 or 3 people that work with us had pressures of caring for their parents.
Yeah.
And of course, I completely understood that. I'd had poorly parents for the last 35
it's having
years.
that empathy, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
It is. And that's why I don't think you can ever be too female running a business. 'Cause
no,
having that empathy and having that emotional intelligence and connection. I think there was a joke. I used to be we had manufacturing advisory service, which was MAS. So that it was always sort of said I had money advice service, marriage advice service, mortgage advice service, and not just for our guys, but for some of the other smaller businesses around us. And
I
I
get
think
the same.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
think that's where this collaboration works. Like these conversations help. And maybe it's what we do. Maybe on one of the Connect sessions is we actually have some form of conversation around this subject to sort of help some of the others that only have 4 or 5 or 6 people in
yeah.
the business for helping awareness. Because Davina's good, but I don't think she's done enough yet.
No, I don't think she has. I mean, my Instagram knows my algorithm because every other post
This
is
is about
menopause, men giving support, all this. I literally send my husband something probably twice a week, something like that. But it's crazy, isn't it, how the algorithm picks it up and
Middle age madness is one of the funniest.
oh yeah, yeah,
It's one of the rudest, but for any ladies suffering with menopause or any men suffering through menopause with their beloved, that middle age madness
yeah,
is one of the funniest pages you will ever read.
yeah. There's some brilliant stuff out there, and I think it's really important. I mean, my husband sent me a podcast, and Barnett podcast, and that was amazing. Because he related to it.
Yeah.
He was listening to it. Well, I was listening to it, but he obviously stumbled across it because he was trying to understand it. But actually, it made me go, do you know what? I'm not on my own. And I think that's what I would say. We are capable of understanding. We shouldn't be losing good people.
Yeah.
As businesses, I think we need to, just be there and be that ear for somebody, be that support network for somebody, and invest in people like Lily into businesses. I think that's a big thing that businesses need to, really look at. Because for me, one of the best investments I've made in myself, genuinely, not just because she's sat here, is Lily. I have, I'm sure, I don't think there's anyone that can't say they've not made a mistake in business. We've all made, those little errors, invested in certain things. But me meeting Lily, I don't think it was any accident. And then I think, more businesses should do that for their teams, to be honest with you. So thank you very much, both of you, for joining us today. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was fun.